Let's go. This is the JMG Live Music Lounge podcast with Jakari Harris. Interviews with music artists and special guests from around the world.
What's going on, everybody? This is Neo, and you are checking out the JMG Live Music Lounge. Keep it locked right here, y'all. Peace and love.
What's up? This is Afrojack. You're listening to the JMG Live Music Lounge.
Hi, this is Martin Knight from Toolroom Records, and you are checking out the JMG Live Music Lounge.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the all-new JMG Live Music Lounge. I'm your host, Jakari Harris, and I know it's been a while since our last episode, but we are back with a new sound and a new video version of the podcast that you can catch on YouTube and at jmgmags.com. You know, 2020 was one hell of a year. We lost so many people due to COVID-19, and my heart just goes out to everybody who was affected by this horrible disease. You know, I'm really looking forward to 2021 and seeing what this year has in store, because I truly believe that this is definitely going to be a much better year. Now, in this latest episode of JMG Live, I have an interview with the legendary Mark Knight. Now, Mark is a Grammy-nominated producer. He is the founder of Toolroom Records, and he is just a badass DJ. Now, I've been listening to Mark for years, and he's definitely one of my favorite house music DJs. Mark's specialty is soulful house, but he can pretty much do anything. Progressive tech, he just knows how to make people dance and how to fill a dance floor. So I opened the interview by asking Mark about his past, because I really wanted to know what made him decide to become a house music DJ.
If I'm honest, if you go right back to the very beginning, I never got house music initially. I was a massive fan of hip hop and soul, in the 80s. And initially, when house broke in the early 90s, I didn't get it. It lacked soul for me. It lacked a soul that I couldn't connect with. I really love what 10 City had done in the early days. I thought they were amazing. But I just didn't get it initially. And then I went out and we took ecstasy. And then it was like a light bulb. And I was like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. It is the honest truth of it. And then, initially you're so wrapped up in the experience. You don't have a completely specific taste on it. But the more you ingrain yourself into the scene, or the more you refine your taste and the more you get, navigate your view on it, your take on it. And I obviously gravitated to soulful house music, what was going on with people like Masters at Work and Tommy Musto and, all of Victor Simonelli and all of those guys in the very early 90s. And I found my place in electronic music. I got it. It felt like an extension of what I was into at the time, which was swing beat. The tempo was just a little bit faster. I got it. I realized, okay, yep, through the medium, unfortunately, of going out and doing ecstasy, I was like, I get this now. I really get it. And I love it. And I just fell in love with it. And I'd always been buying music ever since I could ever remember. Even before DJing was a thing, I would spend all my pocket money and any money I had on buying records and accumulating records and just loving, music, listening to music all the time. And when these two things collided, my passion for music and this opportunity to go within this scene, you can play people the records you love. And I was like, wow, this is great. I love this idea because I love all this music. And, as soon as I got into it and I found it what I was buying music, I just couldn't get enough of it. Give me more. And I always loved making music as well. I love the idea of, trying to create something that reflected what I was about as a person. And all of these worlds kind of collided at the same time. And I was like, wow, I can sort of make electronic music and I could play it to people and not with any intent of it being a career, just as a passion. And then as things evolved, and what was so great in that time was that the scene hadn't established. So if you wanted to do something within the scene, you could just take it wherever you wanted to. And I had a vision, and I loved a certain thing, and I took it there, and I never looked back. And it was just like, it was never premeditated in that respect. It just kind of happened through a sort of passion for this music. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I can actually have a job doing this, and I can DJ every weekend, and then, you're working in the week. And then it got to the point where I was like, well, I don't need to work in the week anymore. I can earn enough money at the weekend playing records that I love and doing something I'm passionate about. And then it just evolves, and I was making music at the same time, and I was getting better at doing that. And then I got to the point where I was like, I need to do something, for myself. I'd been releasing records on other labels and felt very disappointed with the way that they operated as a business, when you put in a lot of passion and a lot of time in crafting a record, and then they just kind of limp it out and like, oh wow, all that energy, and I've upheld my part of the bargain, and you guys hadn't. And then that was the catalyst for Toolroom. So that's the kind of backstory to it all.
Okay. So in the 90s, because that's when I was first introduced to house music as well. In the 90s, I remember listening to Planet Soul, Set You Free, and Thunderpuss, and all those DJs back in the day.
Sure.
Who are some artists that inspired you in the 90s that influenced you and made you really wanted to dive deep into electronic dance music?
Paul Trouble Anderson here in the UK, Bobby and Steve here in the UK, CJ McIntosh, Masters at Work, Tommy Musto, Tony Humphries, Victor Simonelli, all of those guys. That kind of New York soulful house thing was just like, I felt a connection to it. I was like, I get this. It's songs at a tempo that you can dance to, with energy, with moments. I love it, and that's what suckered me in. And I would follow those people every weekend. We'll religiously go to a party called Garage City, and we go to the Ministry of Sound, a night called Ruling, and it was just incredible times. You had this kind of, you were just a punter, and you were just this naive person, just like, let me absorb all this information. And those are the guys that I went to for that.
Okay. And, Toolroom Records, you started the label in 2003 with your brother. It's been very successful over the years. What do you consider to be your biggest achievement with Toolroom to date?
I don't know. I get asked this question a lot, and I really don't dwell on anything, because when you're so focused on where you're going, you don't sort of ever really take stock of what you've done. And I think that's a bit complacent, and it's like, well, we haven't achieved all the things we want to achieve yet. Let me get to that point and then ask me, but I'm still, I'm still uber passionate. I'm still uber enthusiastic. I'm still uber driven to be, to take this as far as we possibly can. And we haven't started yet. We're just getting going, and I don't know. I think maybe being nearly 18 years old is an achievement in its own right, to be consistent and ride through all manner of issues we've had within music, and crises, and going from analog to digital, and all of that thing, to have a buoyant business and a vision of where we want to be, and still be here and still be at the top of our game. I suppose you could say that, but I don't like to pull things out in isolation, because I don't think when I finish and I call it a day, then maybe ask me, and I'm like, okay, out of that whole journey, I like those things. But right now, I'm more worried about tomorrow than I am yesterday.
Absolutely. Now, All for Love is your latest single that's out. Everybody's talking about it. There's a huge buzz. I first heard the single, Mark, about 2 weeks ago. Okay. And I was drawn to the song by everything that you had previously mentioned: the soulful house, the vocals, the saxophone. I mean, it just adds this whole sexy vibe to the whole song. What was it about Tasty Lopez that made you want to work with her and have her as the vocalist for the song?
Well, actually, the song was written by a girl called Andrea Triana, who is working in a project with a defector called The Vision. Okay. She's just amazing. Basically, we set up a writing camp last year, and I wanted to do this track with Andrea, and she, unfortunately, one of her friends passed away, and so she couldn't make the session. And I was like, oh, that's a real shame. So we did the writing camp week, and then we hit each other up a few months afterwards. I was like, I hope everything's okay. Like, I'd still love to work with you. And she's like, oh, unfortunately, in this time, I've got a deal, and it excludes me featuring on other records. I was like, oh, I really wanted to work. So I asked her, she said, look, I'll write the song for you and I'll put it down. I'll put a scratch down and then you can get someone to revocal it. And that was very, very hard. And Tasty's a girl I worked, her name's Laura, actually, worked with her before, many other things. She's incredible at mimicking other people's voices. And she has a bunch of pseudonyms where she does that. She does a lot of sample recreation. She'll like someone will copy it, or copy another artist, and she'll recreate their voice. Her voice is so versatile, and she's got real depth and real soul in her voice. But I was like, look, come on, could you redo this? Have you, is this? I knew it was in her range. I know she had the ability to do it, and she was like, yeah, I'd love to do it. I love the song. Let's do it. So, I mean, credit really lies in this one with Andrea. In all fairness, she wrote a great song, and her voice is just, I don't know, man. You can't put a finger on soul. Someone where it just comes from somewhere inside. You got it, that it's hard to describe the difference when someone's really got that thing, and she has really got that thing. And she's a great writer as well. So we're actually working on the follow-up now. Unfortunately, she can't sing on again, but she's going to write the top line. So it then presupposes me the problem trying to find someone as good. But I love the challenge.
So that kind of leads me to my next question, which is the other single of yours that I've been listening to all year long, Something About You. Now, okay. It's different to me from All for Love, because All for Love is it's melodic, it's sexy, it's soulful. Yeah. Something About You has that energy. It has that club energy. Yeah. And I just been listening. I mean, let me tell you, when I've been wearing that song out. I'm listening to it when I'm working out. I'm listening to it in my car. I mean, I just love the beat. What made you decide to go back to 1994 and pull this Mr. Roar record and say, you know what, I'm going to remix this, give it my own twist, and then create your own hit based off that song?
Because, right, it's a funny story. That it was one of these records where I started going out, I used to hear, and it wasn't a soulful house record. It was a house record, but it had undertones. Anything I do, whether it's almost like a techno record or a soul or a kind of more down tempo, it's all got to have some connection with soul, and you can feel it in that in a way that you either you could just feel it. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it at the time, and it was a classic of the time, and I just forgot about it. And then randomly, fast forward about 20 years, 10, 12 years later, one of the first labels I signed music to were these two guys called Alan and Graham. And we really, really got on, and I had a record label called Ultra Vinyl, and it was just around the corner from where I was, and we just got talking. And they said, oh, Roy, I was like, no fucking way. That was you guys. And they were like, yeah. So I was like, oh my God, I used to love, this record. To absolutely love it. And then, I think it was late last year, I heard it again. I just randomly somewhere. I was like, my God, this record just will work now. Just, you can spin this into now because it just lends itself. And I hit the guys up, and I hadn't spoken for about 10 years. And I was like, and the conversation just left off from where we were last time. I said, look, have you still got the parts? Have you got some, and they're like, no, not really. We lost all the drives. I said, look, I'll just remake it. I'll take an influence from it and I'll just redo it. And they're like, yeah, man, let's do it. And it was great that it ended up, it was a record that made such an impact on me. And I think things in music are fated. The fact that I ended up meeting these guys, we become friends. And then there was a right point in time where that record should come back and, should be reimagined and rethought out. And yeah, it was just, it was a fated thing, I think. I think all music is, it's about colliding timing with an idea and just all that stuff that's out there. I'm not a particularly spiritual person in any way, but yeah, I just think these things happen for a reason somehow. I don't know why, and they just do. And that one just happened, and it was just it's just a nice club record. It just works.
It is. I mean, you nailed it. What was this? Came out in 2018, right?
Do you know? I don't even know. I make so much music. I haven't got. Was it 28?
Yeah, I think you released it last in 28, or it might have been 2019, 2019. What
you know more than me, probably.
Yeah, I'm sure you played it in some clubs and possibly some festivals, right?
Yeah.
What was the response like when people heard it? Because I know how I felt when I heard it. Well, when you played something about you, your version, what was like some of the feedback and the response from the crowd?
It's a very instant record. You know, it's one of those records that people get straight off the bat. You know, the component parts of it and the melodies are just very instant. And all it needed was just bringing it into now. And it, you know, when you get great melody, it transcends time. You just reimagine it. You can reimagine great melodies and great hooks you know, because they just are great. It's just how you bring it back at the right moment in time in the right way, and it has that very instant reaction, especially when it drops to the piano and it all comes in. It's just, it's a proper moment. So just, you know, if you get the right parts, it sort of writes itself, and you know, you haven't got to force it on people. They just get it.
And I know you don't pay too much attention to accolades and achievements and all of that, but how does it feel to be the second highest selling artist on Beatport? I mean, there's so many DJs and producers that are out, and you sold, you know, quite a few records. You're a very popular DJ. People love your music. You know, you have to acknowledge that at some level. And then now that, you know, Beatport is recognizing you as the second highest DJ, how does that make you feel?
I mean, out of anything, that one really sticks with me, because in this industry, there's a lot of hype. Hype becomes, and dangerously superseding talent, and that's a real bad thing. I think, you know, that's the kind of pop model where you're like, well, okay, we need the front to this product, let's put it together, we'll run it for a period. And, you know, house music, electronic music was always the antithesis of that. It was always a raw, underground sort of ecosystem that supported itself based on talent and not hype. And unfortunately, due to the popularity of it, that has creeped in. That model's creeped in. You know, people aren't writing their own music, and it becomes all about the Instagram shot and all about what you did at the last gig. And it's like, well, how do you measure hype? For me, the only thing that actually makes any sense to me is figures like that, facts like that. You're either good at Beatport and selling records, or you're not. There's no in between. You cannot manifest or manipulate or make a career out of, you know, you're either good at making music or you're not. And the figures don't lie. You know, it's sales. It's you've either sold lots or you haven't. And that means a lot to me, because that's not skewed by popularity in a sense that, I don't know, how do I describe it? It's just facts, you know. It's facts and figures, and there's no getting away from that. You're either good at it or you're not good at it. And that means a lot to me. Out of anything, that's the thing that I'll probably walk away and go, that's what I was probably the most proud of in the whole thing, because there was no lying. There's no conjecture in it. You know, it's not, he's a better DJ than you're a better DJ, because how do you measure that? It's all subjective. You know, how's one person more popular because of their personality? It's always just subjective choice, you know, where that isn't. It's metrics, it's figures, and you can't argue with that. And so, I was pretty chuffed with that one. I'm not going to lie. That's one thing that I'm pretty proud to tell the grandkids about that one, I suppose.
There you go. Yeah, you have to soak it all in and enjoy it and talk about it.
You do. You have to soak it all in and make sure you have, you know, the right balance in your life, so you can enjoy it. That's very important.
Definitely. And I didn't realize that you were part of the Black Eyed Peas' album, The End, back in 2010, and you were nominated, you know, for a Grammy for it. What was your contribution to the album?
I wrote this song, Rock That Body.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote that. It was a really weird situation. I wrote the demo, and I was in the studio one day, and I got a phone call from David Guetta, and he said, "Hi, Mark, I'm in the studio with the Black Eyed Peas. We're looking for some music. Have you got anything?" I was like, "That's weird. I literally did something yesterday. It was a bit outside the box, a bit different. I've got this." So I sent it to him, and then about literally 10 minutes later, Will phoned me back and said, "Oh, Mark, we love this. Can we have it?" I was like, "Yeah, of course you can." I literally did it 2 days ago, and it just sat on my hard drive. I just did it for a bit of fun, with no plan of what I was going to. Well, what I really wanted to do with it, actually, that's not true. I wrote a couple of weeks beforehand, and I got Roman Anthony to do a top line. Now, Roman Anthony is the guy who sang on all the Daft Punk records. I got him to do a top line, and it wasn't great, if I'm honest. I was a bit disappointed. Like, oh, okay. And I was just about to go back to him and say, that awkward conversation, not really feeling this. And then David phoned me and said, "Look, can we have it?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, go for it, do your thing." We'll put a top line on it, and literally, I hadn't put much effort into the production. I just did it as a sketch to get a vocal on, and then I'd produce it and mix it. So anyway, we'll put the vocal on, and he added the Lynn Collins now, the beat from that. And I was like, "Oh, man, does it really need this? We're going to have to yield." Some publishers said, "Look, yeah, it just kind of brings it in a slightly more commercial lane." But he literally just put a drum loop over it, and slapped the vocal on. I was like, "Well, do you want to send me back the stems and I'll mix it and I'll polish it all up?" He said, "No, we like it like that." I was like, "No, we can't put it out like that. Can't put it out. It's too rough and raw." And he's like, "No, that's what we want to do. That's how we hear it." And that was it. And it just happened. And and it kind of blew up. And it was sort of my break into, weirdly into the pop world. And I got involved and got asked to do a bunch of stuff. And I've produced everyone from J-Lo to Underworld and back again, off the back of that. And it was, I like it. I like working in different situations that test me as a producer, that you don't get stuck in a comfort zone. And then when you come back to do what you do, you're reinvigorated because you're not just on a treadmill doing over and over and over and over again. You're doing something that really pushes you, in a out of your comfort zone to do something different, on a high level with big expectations. When you're working with those artists, when you sit in the room, they're like, "Come on, let's do something." Okay, right, let's do something. And then, and it's good. I think it's good for you overall as a producer. So that's how it happened.
Yeah, that's great. And that's almost like just being at the right place at the right time and having the right connections,
Yeah, exactly. It's fate. It's all this weird thing that just goes on. You don't know. If you do the right things and you act in the right way, then these things just randomly happen. It's quite weird.
And over the past couple of years, the Black Eyed Peas, they kind of took a little bit of a break, but over this past year, they've been picking up steam. They released the single Ritmo with J Balvin earlier this year, and now last week they just released the latest single with Shakira, "A Girl Like Me." Have you been keeping up with their latest singles and their music?
I haven't. No, I haven't. If I'm honest, I used to really like the Black Eyed Peas back in the day, early. I was almost a bit shocked when they went out, when they really sort of left hip hop and went into pop. I was like, "Oh, I don't know you guys for this." But yeah, Will's a super talented guy. He's a nice guy. He's a bit different. He's definitely out there, I met him a couple of times. He's definitely a character, that is for sure. But yeah, I don't really, and if the chance came up again, I'd do it, and but to say that I'm, that on top of what they're doing, not really. I'm so focused on what's going on in my world a little bit that, I can't keep up with it all.
Yeah, so many people releasing music right now, but they got some good stuff that they're releasing right now. But, as far as COVID is concerned, the whole world has been dealing with it for the past, 8 months or so, 9 months. How has COVID affected you as far as, not being able to play in clubs and festivals? How have you been able to just kind of reassess, how you deliver music and everything? How has COVID affected you?
Massively. I've really enjoyed coming off the road. I'm not going to lie. I think when you've been on the road for 20 years straight, I mean, it's not healthy, for fundamentally nothing else. No other part of the music industry operates in the same way. Could you imagine sitting down with a band and saying, right, guys, we've got a tour. It's 20 years long and we're not stopping. They'd be like, fuck, they'd be killing each other,
Yeah.
It is not, we have so many issues within our scene with mental health, and all of the above. And you've only got to look at it and say, well, why do we tour like that? Why do we tour ad infinitum? Why don't we tour in cycles like the rest of the music industry? But we've set up the situation that if you're not touring constantly, then therefore you're not in favor and you're not popular.
Yeah.
And that's just inherently wrong and and not healthy and not logical and everything and all of the above. So to take a year out, I mean, I only DJ and I have done because I've got a little boy, and I would miss him growing up for all the tea in China. You couldn't pay me enough money to miss that. So for the last 5 years, I've only DJed 2 weekends a month, and it's made me really assess that I'm at the real great years of his life. He's my best friend. We do everything together, and I don't want to miss that. I don't want to miss that. And it's about now going back a level where I'm really comfortable. I may do 1 or 2 shows a month, something like that. And it's about, like I said, it's about having a balance. And I think coming off of that hamster wheel makes you look at life, and assess life and what you do. I think everyone's had that kind of moment in their life with this, being forced into that to reevaluate what you do. And I think that has for me, it's like, at the moment where he needs me and he needs me to be around, and I want to be around. I don't want, that's my priority. That's my priority in life. Of course I love DJing, and of course I won't stop. But right now, what suits me and what suits the things that are most important to me is to be around for my son. And, that means I could be in the studio all the time and running the label and being involved in all of that and have more balance. I do all the things that I love at the right amount, because the problem with this industry, it's so draining. It's so, like anything, if you want to get to the top of what you do, you end up becoming such a narrow person because you're so focused. You forget the rest of life, and the rest of life is fucking great. But you get so caught up in this tunnel vision of what you do, sometimes you need a break of that to say, whoa, you really don't need to do that all the time. You can do bits of it and enjoy playing sport and being with the kids and do all of that and the right amount, and then you really have won. So it's been an epiphany in that respect. No, I mean, I suppose not completely. I think it's just reaffirmed and expedite what I wanted to do in my own career, instead of taking 4 or 5 years to get to that point and down to 1 weekend. I'll probably go back next year and just do that, because that I want to go back out on the road and feel that I enjoy it, because it doesn't matter if you're doing all the best gigs in the world, you do them every week. By the end, you're like, I've had enough. This is too much. It's not healthy, and it's totally unrealistic to the real world. It's not right. So yeah, I think it's made me reevaluate that, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying having weekends. I'm very lucky that obviously the label and the success of it means that I don't have to tour. The pressure's not on financially for me to tour. The record labels had the best year it's ever had. It's made us reevaluate music and the processes of releasing music, because we've had the headspace to do it. We're not under the pressure of trying to be cool. Because this industry orientates around that. When we talk about that, we can just focus on the things that make us money and what we are actually about, and that's releasing good music and doing that and delivering it well, because we're not sidetracked with all the other things that go on in the industry that historically you've had to do. We've just refocused all our energies on really refining the process of what we do and readjusting it based on what the circumstances are, because like you said, we talked about 2 records. One was Mr. Roy, and that was something that worked in that time when clubs are happening, and it's the right energy level and the right record to suit that environment. Where if you're at home, that you might feel that a record like All for Love's a better way to ingest the music you love. it feels more relative to the situation. And we said at the beginning of the year, pre-COVID, that, you know, we wanted to, it's spearheaded by myself, kind of get back to writing records with more depth, that are more accomplished, you know, that are what we call evergreens, you know, and not just a series of great club records that work for that 3 months and then you've got another one. It's about building a catalogue of records that stand the test of time. Because put it this way, if we were to fast forward to 5 years, in 5 years' time, and you look back and said, what are the records you'd make bootlegs of? What are the records of now? What are the ones that really stick their head above the parapet and go, this is synonymous from this era? And there's not enough of them. There's just not enough of those great songs that, you know, I grew up listening to. I'd go into a club and hear one song after another song, not an instrumental soundscape for 8 hours that all sort of effectively makes sense as one thing. There were all these songs one after another, and that's why you've got, every time people go back to the past, the same ones I did with Mr. Roy, because people took more time with their craft, focused more on melody and hooks, and we've forgotten that. We're like, well, I need to write a song to talk about something on my socials to get a gig, so I'll just bang something out. We all fell foul to that. We all fell foul to that trap, and we were all doing it, myself included, you know, not spending enough time. You take all that away and say, right, let's go back to writing songs. And I've had a whole year to do it. And it works because you've got the time, you've got the headspace, and people like it. They want to hear songs. But you format it in a way that makes sense. And you feel there's a relativity and a connectivity between listening to the experience of listening at home and envisaging that you're in that place. That it joins the dots. And it's about, we've focused on in this time, finding those records that have that, you know, that connection to, you know, thinking you're in a club and experiencing that music, but you're at home and you're hearing it in a way that's not over-facing. It's finding that sweet spot of all of those factors and finding records that fit into the musical parameters of what we do, but, you know, feel more suited to the current circumstance. And we decided to do that at the beginning of the year. So we'd already put records like that in the release schedule, you know, more songs. And it's, the whole situation is kind of played into our hands because we were like, okay, we've taken clubs away now, and this is an easier way to get these records across to people. You know, when's the last time you went in a club and heard a verse?
Right.
It's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Oh.
So a lot easier to listen to a verse on the radio, and then when you go back to the club, you're like, okay, yeah, I remember this. This makes sense. I can get down with this. I can get down with listening to a verse in the club. I don't have to have a snare roll every 16 bars. I can get down with that. So it kind of played into our hands. So it's made us, you know, COVID's made me adjust on many levels, not only personally, but through the business and musically. So it's had a big impact, but I would say all positive. You know, I think it's the only way to look at these things. It's about taking all the positives out of any situation you're in. And it's been cool.
Definitely. Now, where do you see house music now compared to 15, 20 years ago?
As I say, I think a lot of factors based on its popularity have crept into the industry. You know, it's become that balance between talent and hype. Yeah, there's always been that, you know, there's always been that in the scene. But, you know, if this was 15 years ago and this was talent and hype was down here somewhere, you know, it was always led by talent, because the only medium you had was making music, you know, or performing well. And if you did that, therefore you had an opportunity to continue what you're doing. It created momentum. Now you don't really need to have, you know, it's all about what can you do in your socials, and what that has gone past. Talent was there. It's the other way around now. It's turned on its head. And what's been good about this year, it's reset the balance. It's like, what can you say right now? How can you keep the conversation now? There's only so many pictures you can post of, oh, I wish I was doing this in a nightclub. It's like, okay, you said that 50 times now. What else can you say? What else can you say to people to engage them and feel, you know, that you are still there and you're still active in what you're doing? and it's right the playing field a little bit, and I think that's a great thing, much needed thing. I think things have got really out of kilter with people's egos, people's fees. It sometimes, you know, when you're in it and you're a promoter, and which we are, we put on events and you're dealing with agents and acts that you've helped, you know, you've given your right arm to help, and then they treat you, they want to screw you to the floor. You're like, oh, some days I'd come home and I'm like, I hate this. I hate being in and around these people. There's no sense of fair play and just, you know, being a good, decent person. You know, everything was so money driven, and no, I've got to screw you to the floor, and how much money can I get out of you, and how much money can I get out of you? And it's like, that's not house music.
Yeah.
That isn't what we started it for. That isn't it, you know? Of course, we've all got to make money. Of course, we're running businesses, but it should be underpinned by this kind of feeling that was this unity, this all-inclusiveness. It was all like coming together, and where's the spirit of that gone? And in some ways, I kind of like, oh, this is so nice that all of that's gone, you know, because we all need to help each other now. We all need to help out because times are tough, you know. And I do hope that it doesn't defer straight back to where it was. It probably will, because that's money, isn't it? But it's been an interesting time. But I think the scene, if my take on it, is really needed this to really re-level and rebalance where we were, because it just got all a bit out of control.
Yeah, definitely. And I was listening to your live stream, the Toolroom live stream from a couple of weeks ago, November the 13th.
Yep.
Again, love the entire set. There was this one song that came, I don't even know what the name of it is, but it's like almost like a gospel house song, but it comes on after All for Love.
I know that's coming out next week, actually, on Toolroom. It's by Curb Maverick. It's called Dancing 2. I know exactly the one you mean. Yeah.
So that was like a little preview that you gave during the live stream.
Yeah. I've been playing. I've had that for ages. And it's one of those records I've just been dying to release. But obviously the vocal samples are quiet. We had to clear that. We had to get all that right. But it's so fucking good. Yeah, I love it.
I mean, I loved it when I heard it. What's the name of it again?
It's called Dancing 2 by Curb Maverick. It's out. I'll send it to you in a minute. I'll send it to you after this. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, yeah, definitely want to hear. But how do you decide which songs are going to be in your live sets? Like, how do you decide, you know, when you're doing a live stream or if you're at a festival or anywhere, how do you decide which songs are going to be in your set?
I think it's just, I mean, I struggle when I see, when I do a live stream, it's a bit of a weird situation. I'm not really that comfortable with it. It's a bit odd. It's almost a bit like faking it. I don't know. It doesn't feel like the experience, you know, because when you DJ, the art of DJing is just a reactionary thing. It's like a psychological thing, seeing what the room's doing at that moment in time and playing records according to the atmosphere of the room. Yeah, you have a narrative of what you want to say. You know where you're going to start and where you're going to end up, and that journey, that energy shift between that moment, the start and the end. But all of that is adjusted in situ based on where you are and what's going on. And when you're doing a live stream and it's like, well, I'm just a bit of a jukebox here, putting on records, you know?
Yeah.
And I think you still need to tell it in a way that makes sense and it all threads together as a story. But you don't get that prompt, I'm going to shift it up again now, or I better pull it back a little bit. So when I do live streams, I just think I play records that I think are kind of relative to the audience, listen to it at home. Do I want to bosh them over their head with, you know, big main room sounding tech house, or is it probably more palatable in a kind of more groovy, soulful way? And I've just been doing things like that because I just think if I was listening, and maybe I'd want to ingest it more in that context than I, you know, and if I was playing at a festival or I was playing at a massive club, then I would adjust my sound within what I do, and I make records right across the board. I love playing long sets. You know, when I go back, the one thing I will probably just do is play open to close everywhere I play. I'll just that's what I'll do. You know, just playing clubs that I know work. I know that works and allows you to do that, and that the audience is right for that kind of situation. And I love making records for 9 p.m. and 9 a.m., you know, and everything in between, that all connect, that all have a signature sound, that don't feel disjointed and feel like a bunch of different producers, that all feel like me, but at different times of the night. And I love the opportunity to play right the way across the board and play all of those records. So I think you just, you know, as a DJ, it's just about playing records that feel appropriate at that time. And in a live stream situation, I think that I feel more comfortable playing music in that sort of pocket.
Yeah. And so when things open up next year, you know, once COVID is, you know, completely gone or close to being gone and things start opening up, do you have a favorite place or festival that you're looking forward to playing? Like, is it Ibiza or Ultra Music Festival? You have a favorite place that or event you're looking forward to?
I've been going to be brutally honest with you now. The only thing I'm missing is not being in America. In America. I really
come on, we're ready. Come on.
I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not just saying that now, because I love playing in America. I love everything about it. I love the open-mindedness of people, the enthusiasm. It's all the things you want. It's when you know, as an entertainer, that's the dream scenario, that people are completely open-minded. They're like, okay, play me some good music and I'll let you know if it's good or not. You know, there's no boundaries. I mean, Europe has become so fragmented and so compartmentalized, you know, in terms of, you have to play either that or that or that, or don't get it, you know. And in the States, they're like, play me some good music, man, and I'll get down. Yeah. And it's just like, this is so refreshing. So I'm missing just playing in the States, you know. I really am. There's so many great clubs, and it was just on fire before it all, you know, obviously things went, you know, upside down with COVID, but that's the one place I can't wait to get back to. I genuinely mean that. I literally, on driving back, was on a call with my US agent, Emma, who I think you contacted. And, you know, we were just talking about some offers that have come through, and I'm like, Emma, I'm so missing it. I can't wait to come back, you know.
Have you been to Houston or been to Texas? I think you've been to Houston. Do a stereo. Have you played at Stereo Live before? Or
I have. Yeah, I love it. It's brilliant. Okay. I did it on Sunday. I played there about 2 or 3 times now. What's the name of the dude that owns it? He's a really nice guy.
Serene,
correct. He is such a nice guy.
Yeah,
he's a good guy. And who's the other guy? Is it Mike?
Yeah, Mike Long. Yeah. I know Serene and Mike.
They're such nice guys. I mean, last time I ended up back around their house at about 7 in the morning. We were sitting in Mike's hot tub going, I should probably leave right now and get rid of this beer. But they are such nice guys. So there's just so many great clubs. It would be wrong to just say I miss playing at this club in the US, because they're all great, and I genuinely mean it. There's nowhere else in the world you can say that. There are some good clubs in certain cities in certain countries, but the States is just an incredible place to be right now in terms of electronic music.
Everywhere. New York, Miami, Houston, LA, Chicago, everywhere. House music is everywhere.
For sure. And it's in a really buoyant, you know, place. It's still feels relatively new, and that enthusiasm that's there and that open-mindedness is just a dream scenario.
Yeah. And do you have any other, I know you have that release coming out next week, but you have any other releases coming up that we should be knowing about?
Well, I'm working on an album at the moment. That's my big focus. I mean, of all the years I've been producing music and the hundreds of records I've made, I've never written an album. And it just feels like the right time to do it. I've got the headspace to do it. As I say, I'm not in that cycle of record gig. I'm just like, well, you know, let's make some music and let's do a bunch of stuff from the heart that I've always wanted to do. And it just be maybe not. I probably won't get it completely right the first time. You know, it's like when you write singles, you know, you get better and better at doing it. And I've never done an album. I have a band project which we've done some albums for, but as a solo artist, I've never done it. So it would probably be the setup to something that will be really good down the line. But I'm just learning it. I'm just learning the process, and I'm enjoying doing it. I'm enjoying making music that isn't totally club focused. That are just great songs. And if by chance, it's like All for Love, I never in a million years would have called that they would have had the success it's had. You know, I'd like to think I'm quite good as my job at A&R at preempting or predicting the success of records. And I was like, well, yeah, that should do well on Traxsource. I'll be happy if that does well on Traxsource. And I mean, it's been enormous over here. I mean, it's just like, it's on radio every 5 minutes, national radio here. It's just gone bananas. And I would have never called that in a million years. It was just like, let's go and write a really good song with great melody and great hooks, and you know, see what happens. And I think that's the way to approach making music, and that's what I'm trying to do with the album. No pressure, just go in and write some shit that you love, and you'll be happy to stand by and go, oh, yeah, I'm proud of that.
And just go with the flow. Let me give you one piece of advice for the album. Let's do at least 3 tracks that have the same energy as Something About You. Then give me 2 All for Loves, and I'll be happy.
Right. Not a problem. Fine. Let me write that down on the notes.
That's the recipe for your new album right there.
Got it. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, it will be a balance of energy, and yeah, it'll be a journey within what it is, you know, to have a kind of mood change right the way through the album. So you get a bit of all of those all of those styles. But yeah, it's really good. You know, it's really good going into the studio every day, working on things, you know, that are just a bit more involved. And I love that. I love working on bigger projects. It's good fun. You know, it's good fun. Working with lots of different musicians and top line writers and just great people. And I think you get a bunch of people in the room and you're working and you start jamming and you start vibing and ideas come out. You're like, this is fucking great. This is how you should make music, you know, as opposed to you just sat on a plane going, it's back to that old day, you know, getting it all across the desk. And yeah, it's really cool. I'm actually really excited to go into the studio tomorrow.
JMG Live Music Lounge.
Subscribe to the JMG Live Music Lounge on YouTube and be sure to follow us on social media.